Hello everyone, and welcome to the final episode of my SRB2 mod ranking. Now, we've already covered most of the mods I've showcased in the last 3.5 episodes, and I'm anxious to get to this final part out before compiling all of the mods into a final ranking, so let's keep this intro short. If you haven't watched any of the other parts, we're reviewing every Sonic Robo 2 mod I've showcased before ranking them against each other. Just 9 more mods before we've covered everything, hopefully just in time for Stage 21. Let's get ranking. Essentially placing the older versions of Tails into the newer version of SRB2, SSN Tails sounds like a cool idea in theory, something along the lines of Game Factory Sonic. Take an old version of a character, port them to a new version with their quirks still there, and see how they fare. The problem is the fact that old versions of Tails are nearly identical to the current one. SSN Tails has all the same abilities and very similar sprites to the new Tails, and generally lacks the unique oddities that a mod like Game Factory Sonic kept in the 2D days of SRB2. He's essentially Tails with worse animations, and he doesn't feel like he brings anything to the table. Due to the lack of unique traits, SSN Tails would get the lowest score so far, a paltry 2 out of 10. Another Tails-based character, let's hope Tails gets a more acceptable score. Right off the bat, the most interesting part about the mod are the ragdoll physics. Say it with me now, I didn't realise that was possible on the Doom engine, or 2D sprites in general. Moveset wise, he's fairly unique, with a hover and the red sealed, essentially a clone of the black sealed Metal Sonic can use in Sonic Adventure. Neither will particularly blow you away with the speed you can reach using them, but they're both very useful. It's almost the same that he has ragdoll physics, because it kind of overshadows the rest of the mod, at least in my eyes. Respectable 7 out of 10. A staple of the IDW comic series, this modded character won't exactly blow you away when it comes to how they approach the moveset. Because Tangle has an extendable and prehensile tail, everyone seems to agree that he should control in a game setting as essentially a Spider-Man clone, being able to swing over buildings and obstacles using her tail. The problem with this lies in the fact that they tried to use the 2-button ideology of vanilla SRB2, yet still decided to cram it full of different abilities. So, to fit all of these abilities into 2 buttons, the mod creators have decided to change their abilities depending on whether you're moving or standing still. This causes the mod to become immensely confusing, as Tangle can often feel like her abilities change on a whim, and the game is too sensitive to really give you much of a reprieve when it comes to how to recognise moving or standing. Tangle will inevitably not do what you think she should be doing, and as much as that's accurate to her personality, it stops the mod from being fun. Therefore, I'll have to give this mod a 5 out of 10. Much like the aforementioned SSN Tails, Ugly Knuckles takes the idea of porting the infamous early versions of Knuckles and ports them to the current version of the game. While you may think I'll be as harsh on this as I was to SSN Tails, I think the mod works a little better simply because early Knuckles was far more different to current Knuckles compared to early and current Tails. Featuring the infamous awful sprites and balked animations of early Knuckles, Ugly Knucks feels slightly more interesting than SSN Tails, yet it does still suffer from the fact that the gameplay doesn't change enough to be distinct. Ugly Knucks, beyond the sprites and animations, plays as a slower version of Knuckles, which again, just makes the game less fun. So, while I do think the mod is better than SSN Tails, I still feel the mod deserves only a 3 out of 10. The second member of Team Kinetic, after Dirk the Husky way back in part 1, Vesela is just as high quality and polished as Dirk. Featuring a very unique moveset that takes full advantage of her plant-based powers, Vesela can gain some massive vertical height through combining her abilities. She is also very good from an offensive viewpoint, as her thorns and stinger can both be used as an effective weapon. If I had to make a small request, I'd ask if a Stinger Ground Pound could have either a larger AoE or the ability to kill her momentum, as she will often overshoot enemies and item boxes. However, her sprites are good, and the mod has a decent sense of humour, so I feel confident in giving a 7 out of 10. Although based off Sonic's nighttime transformation in Sonic Unleashed, the Werehog has more in common with a character like Crash Bandicoot. Essentially playing as a combination of Crash and Sonic's daytime form, the Werehog is much slower than most of the other characters on this list. This will cause you to go through levels in a much more precise and methodical way, which actually makes the finicky platforming in the game a lot more tolerable. In fact, I'd say that the Werehog is actually most fun in a platforming heavy zone like Castle Eggman, as it allows him to flex his moveset a lot more. It's a nice touch that Chip follows you, although I do feel the sprite art style hasn't been as kind to the Werehog as it has been to characters like Tangle or Sado. A slight warning here, this is the only mod in this whole ranking where I felt there's a noticeable amount of lag. So watch out if you're trying this mod out for yourself. Altogether, the Werehog deserves a very good 8 out of 10. The third and final member of Team Kinetic, Whirl has aerokinetic powers, which in practice means he's got a permanent propeller suit. His moveset consists of a mid-air super jump like Propeller Mario, a powerful stomp, and a charge much like Spyro. The moveset actually flows together very well, allowing for horizontal speed, vertical mobility, and immense offensive capabilities. Whirl can pull off massive skips, and his charge means you'll rarely need to go slow. If you need proof of how overpowered he is, notice I'm playing on Aerial Garden, one of the 3 talent status, and I'm having no difficulty speeding through this platforming hellscape. The best of Team Kinetic will get a 9 out of 10. I'm going to have to preface this by admitting I have no idea what Weido is supposed to be. A hockey stick wielding maniac with a wall jump, Weido has a very dynamic moveset that allows for some great looking runs. She also has a wall run and a parry, but I found both to be extremely finicky, and they often didn't work. Although her sprites and animations are great, her moveset is a bit of a letdown. Between how finicky the wall run and parry are, and the unpredictable range of her attack, Weido is too chaotic to work consistently, which dropped her a few points down to 6 out of 10. The final SRB2 mod in this entire ranking, and it's a Mario character. Yoshi has great moveset, which is slightly hampered by overuse of custom buttons, which can reduce the simplicity and accessibility of some mods. Featuring all his standard abilities, Yoshi can flutter jump, swallow enemies and spit them back out, create eggs and ground pound. These all work great, allowing Yoshi to get through levels quickly and efficiently. The sprites are decent, although I wouldn't say they're mind-blowing. But I just don't like his sound effects. I don't want to hear Yoshi try to take a dump every time I use his main ability, thanks. Altogether, a solid 7 out of 10. So, this is it. We've covered every single mod I showcased, and we'll combine them all at the end of episode rankings in the final ranking. So, with today's mod finished, let's rank them. In 9th, we have SSN Tails. In 8th, we have Ugly Knuckles. In 7th, we have Tangle the Lemur. In 6th, we have Weido the Wild. In 5th, we have Yoshi. In 4th, we have Vessela the Bee. Reaching the top 3 for today, we have Tails Dolan 3rd. In 2nd, we have the Werehog. And in the top spot, for today at least, we have Whirl the Ram. So that's it for today. In the next 3 or so days, I'll put up a video combining all of the mini rankings we've had at the end of episodes, and then move on to a few Sage live streams. It'd be a big help if someone could explain how Sage actually works, but until then, ciao.